Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is episode 36 of my Billionaire Minecraft series, where I will collect 1 billion iron ingots, gold ingots, diamonds, and emeralds using the All the Mods 6 mod pack in modded Minecraft 1.16. In today's episode, I am going to use the mod Bigger Reactors to make a reactor, a heat exchanger, and a turbine to form one system to generate power. So let's get started. So I've actually built a reactor and a turbine before, but today I am going to add a heat exchanger in between those, and that will help my efficiency a little bit. So let's get started with that. So the first thing I want to do is build a reactor. So let me grab I should have a wand in here. So let me grab that infinity wand and let's get started building the reactor. So the reactor is going to be, I think, something like 7 by 15 by 10 high, roughly. So I have kind of the base laid out here, and so the bottom layer of this reactor is just going to be these reactor casings right here. And let's complete that, and that is 7 wide and I think 15 long. And let's go ahead and build up. So I actually have this building, and it is down here, and for reference, my main base is up here. I'm going to have some sort of transport system to get items here, and I'm going to, I think, process a lot of my ores, or at least some of them down here. And I separate my base a little bit because eventually my frame rate starts to really get bogged down by lots of things happening in one location. So I like to separate the location for everything happening. So that's why I'm building this stuff here, and I need power here. I could run just power conduits and just make it pretty simple by doing that. However, I do want to build a separate power system for this area, and that's why I am doing this today. Another reason is that I have actually not found a whole lot of documentation for the heat exchanger that has been added in the Bigger Reactors mod, and it's been active for, I don't know, at least 9 months, probably longer. And there is actually very little documentation that I can find online, so I decided to dive into it on my own and see what I could do. And I've actually done a good bit of experimenting, and I found out a decent amount here, and hopefully I can show you a little bit about how all of this works. So let's go ahead and just finish building this reactor. And actually I should have just about everything I need with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build 2 fuel rods, or 3 fuel rods rather, sorry. And I'm going to build them kind of in the middle of the reactor here. And I'm just going to build them all the way up, and apparently I can't aim here. And Ethan is once again going crazy. He does not like me doing this for whatever reason. So let's just go ahead and build these up, and here on the top of them, once again, I do need the control rods. So let's pop those down. And I do need to now grab some diamond blocks to make this whole system just a little bit better. So let's get rid of the things I shouldn't need anymore, which would be the reactor casings. I'm just using that for the frame. Let's go ahead and grab a bunch of these diamond blocks, and let's figure out, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the reactor terminal right here. And I do need the reactor access ports. Let's just do them over here. One here and one over here. Doesn't super matter where I put those. This one can be the output, so let's do the chest there. And then this one over here is going to be the input. So what I'm going to do is put a hopper there and have a chest over here. For right now, I am going to manually feed this reactor because it will only be powering this base, and obviously I don't have anything really built at this base yet except this empty shell of a building. So I'm not going to worry about that just yet. I'm just going to get the reactor up and running today. I'm going to fill it with uranium, which I actually have in here eventually, and then we're going to get this thing going. So actually, let's put a little bit of uranium fuel in there so that once I get the reactor actually built, it will actually have fuel in it. So let's do that. And we can do this pretty simply by adding the uranium into this chest. Now let's add the diamond blocks here, and the diamond blocks that I'm going to be adding are just to make the reactor more efficient. These are not necessary, but I would highly encourage you to add some mediator blocks in here if you can. You can use things like water, I believe, and there are cheaper things you could use like iron or not iron ore, but iron or say like copper ingots, or not ingots, but blocks rather. So what I'm going to use is I'm just going to use this wand to build this up. And that'll just make things really, really easy for me. So let's go ahead and finish out the reactor here. And I need to add a bunch of glass. So let's add the glass kind of around. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add glass here. And I'm going to have to be careful when I start using my wand to build the glass up. First of all, so that I don't place glass where I don't want it. And then second of all, to actually get all of the gaps that I'm going to create when I first start using my wand here. So I do have it set to the no restrictions mode here. So what I mean by that is I need to build that up. I need to build this up. And then I probably need to do this block here. And okay, I already got this block over here. So let's build that up. It should go all the way around now. Now I should just have to do this. And I should get all of the glass that I need. That looks good. So let's actually fly in here, fly up, and finish that out. And now we need to do the top here, and that's kind of a super easy process here. I did not mean to place that there. So let's actually change this to the horizontal mode because I no longer need it to do all of the unrestricted mode. I don't need that anymore. So let's do this. That way I don't accidentally place a bunch of blocks that I don't need. And this should go ahead and complete the reactor, except that I don't have any way for the coolant to get out or coolant to get in. So I need to add a few of these coolant ports. So let's add, for right now, let's just add one here and here. And then I also need to add one more coolant port, and let's just go ahead and add that over here. I know it's going to be kind of tight here, but I do need an extra input to add the fluid, the initial fluid. As you can see, there's no fluid in it right now. The reactor is fueling up, so that is cool. So at first here, let's actually add some water. You know what? Let's not add water. And let's actually just commence with the heat exchanger build. In a little bit, I do want to alter my reactor here a little bit. I'm going to add some stuff to it. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not actually going to be adding water to the reactor. In the past, I've added water to the reactor as the coolant. However, I'm not going to be using that today. But let's commence with building the heat exchanger first off. And then we'll worry about what coolant I'm going to add. So let's grab the heat exchanger casing, these heat exchanger condenser channels, heat exchanger coolant ports, heat exchanger evaporator channels, and then some heat exchanger glass. And this glass can actually be changed out for heat exchanger casing, but I'm not going to use that today. And then let's grab this heat exchanger terminal because it is a big multi-block structure, and we will need to basically be able to see what the heat exchanger is doing. So just like in the building before, I'm actually going to have the reactor over here, and then I'm actually going to have the turbines up on this level. However, I am going to build the heat exchanger down here as well. So let's go ahead and commence with that. And I'm not entirely sure how big I want to build this heat exchanger, but let's start out maybe 9 by 9 or something like that. So that should be, I think, 9. And then let's get rid of these torches and let's grab this wand. The bottom layer here, I'm just going to have the heat exchanger casing, and I don't think you super need to do that. I think you could exchange these blocks out, or at least the blocks not on the edge out, with the heat exchanger glass, but because I don't need to see through the bottom, I'm just going to use the heat exchanger casing. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and let's do 9, and then I'm going to build this 9 high as well. So it's going to be a 9 by 9 cube, I think. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. What I am going to do is let's punch a hole in the roof here. So let me figure out where I need to be standing for this. So let's do that. And then I also need to change this back to 1 by 1 mode and do some more blocks here. Okay, so if I do this strip right here, that should be a 9 by 9 hole. So basically, I will be able to see into the top of the heat exchanger. I will probably cover that back up in the future, but for right now, it'll be useful for actually being able to see everything. So let's build this up. Let's build this over. And let's go ahead and complete kind of the shell of this heat exchanger. Like I said, this is a big multi-block structure, and I'm not exactly sure what the optimal dimensions for this would be, but this will be more than big enough for my purposes. So let's go ahead and finish that out. That's kind of the shell there. So that's a 9x9 shell. And what we're going to need to do is let's add some heat exchanger ports. And just for placeholder blocks, let's do this for right now. Okay, so let's get rid of that and those. So that's cool because we're going to have some tubes carrying liquids between the reactor itself and the heat exchanger. And then on the top side, we're going to have to exchange fluids with a turbine. And I'm not exactly sure where I should be doing that. I think what I'm going to do is let's add the ports actually up here. And I think I'm just going to have one turbine per level. To be honest, this entire base will probably be able to be run on one turbine. So that'll be nice. So I think in that regard, let's go ahead and put our ports up here. And we'll, let's go ahead and add a bunch of glass here. And let's also do the heat exchanger terminal port. And let's do that right there. In fact, let's go ahead and move this, the reactor terminal to actually be right here. Just so that when I come down here, I have the terminal for the reactor here, and then the reactor or the terminal for the heat exchanger right there, just to make things just a little bit easier. So yeah, that's active. This will be active once I get it built, or completed rather. So let's go ahead and add this heat exchanger glass. And I'm going to do it all the way around. And I'm going to use my wand to build it up again. It's just easy. So let's grab the wand. Let's add, or let's put this in the no limits mode. So actually, because of these blocks right here, I'm going to need to add that block and then just build that up. I'm going to have to do that. And let's go ahead and build up. Let's fly up here. And because I have the reach enchantment, I should be able to reach that down there. And now I should have a few blocks that I need to add right there. Okay, so that's cool. Now we just need to do the top here. And let's go ahead and cover that up with the wand. And let's switch it to horizontal mode just so I'm not adding a bunch of blocks that I don't need to accidentally. Okay, so that is built, and the reason why it is not completed is because we don't have any of these heat exchanger evaporator channels or heat exchanger condenser channels. Now, let me take a look at my notes real fast so that I know exactly where I need to run these at a minimum. And let's grab the basically one of each of these here. And I actually need to, let's go down here. Let's take the elevator. And let's open this thing up because we need to get inside, and let's start running some tubes in here. So, okay, from the reactor, I need to run, actually, let's grab the conduit I'm going to need. So that should be in here. I need the configurator as well, and I will also need the ultimate mechanical pipe. And later on, I'm going to need that, the sodium that I have prepared for this. That is the coolant I'm going to be using in the reactor, and that's kind of cool because in the past I don't think that has actually been a possibility. So let's go ahead and start running this here. So what I need to do is from the reactor I'm going to have, and actually I need to run this. So let's run this right here and right there, and then run that like so. So okay, so from the reactor we're going to have superheated sodium rather. So I need to run that through the condenser tubes. So let me grab the condenser tubes, which will be the red tubes. If you'll notice, I have red and blue here. I don't think that's where that will go. I actually think this red tube will need to exit through here. I'm not 100% about that just yet. I have it in my notes, but I don't have it in my brain. So let's just run this, and basically the more of these tubes we have in here, the greater amount of fluid the heat exchanger will be able to hold. There are some rules here, though. We can't do a structure like that when it doesn't connect up. So like this is actually fine, but this right here does not connect right, so we can't do that. I can't even do that because this one now doesn't connect right. So typically what I've done in just my experimentation here is I allow a little bit of room for my turns. So I do something like this, and that should be fine. So let's go ahead and just make a super simple design here. So we can do something like that, and then for the blue ones, let's do something like this. I don't think the tubes have to be next to each other, which is kind of weird in my opinion, but whatever, it seems to be okay. So let's connect that up like so. So this loop here will be from the reactor. We're going to have superheated sodium come out into the heat exchanger. It's going to run through this, and then when it exits, it's going to be the cool sodium again. It will go back into the reactor and basically form a loop. So the reactor takes sodium, converts it into superheated sodium, sends it to the heat exchanger, and the heat exchanger turns out regular sodium. In turn, it will take water, and I actually should have I don't need to add a separate port, but basically we're going to pump water into the heat exchanger here, and it will turn that water into steam using the heat from the sodium, and that steam will go to a turbine and spin the turbine. So let's go ahead and seal this thing up, and let's see if it is a valid structure. I think it should be. So there we go. And if we click on this, it will give us some information here. It will give us the heat of the condenser channel. It will give us the evaporator coolant temperature, and then it will give us how much of the coolant and the heated fluid we have, which basically we have nothing in the heat exchanger right now. We also have nothing in the reactor. So let's go ahead and we actually need to flip this. So what I need to do is just right click on the heat exchanger, and this is going to be the input, and it will automatically change this one to be the output. So that's cool. So now what I need to do is I actually need to get sodium into the reactor here. So I'm going to be using sodium from the mod mechanism, and that is a compatible thing we can do. And to actually get the sodium in, I'm going to need to use the ultimate pressurized tube. You cannot use the ultimate mechanical pipe for gases. So in the mechanism form, sodium is actually in a gas form, but once it's pumped into the reactor, it is considered a liquid from then on out, and that's why I'm using the ultimate mechanical pipe for this right here. So let's go ahead and get that into the reactor. So I just need to put down my tank and put down some pressurized tube, which I didn't actually grab apparently. I just looked at it. So I do need to I just need one of these. So if I go around and we look at the reactor real fast, there's actually already sodium in it. And actually I know why that is. I didn't need my configurator at all because I actually already have this tank set to auto eject out the top side. That's something you will need to do because by default these tanks are set to be like this. And I'm not sure if the auto eject is on or not. Okay, cool. So we actually have a little bit of spare sodium. I had more than enough sodium. So we can see that this reactor has sodium in it, liquid sodium. So if we go ahead and turn this on, which I'm not going to do yet, and that's because I have these control rods all the way out, and that is not efficient at all. What I want to do is I'm going to hit Alt. I'm actually going to hit Control. I'm going to insert these in 50% because I know this reactor is going to make way more superheated sodium than I need. So let's actually start out by taking this all the way to 90. And I did hold control there. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So all these fuel rods, or control rods rather, should be at 90%, which basically throttles down the reactor a little bit, or a considerable amount. But like I said, that reactor is more than capable of producing way more sodium or superheated sodium than I will ever need. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on real fast, and let's see what's happening. So it is making the superheated sodium out of the liquid sodium, and actually this is not able to keep up right now because it doesn't have water in it. So let's go ahead and shut this bad boy down, and let's get some water in here. And actually I should probably just go ahead and run a little bit of plumbing right now while I'm at it. And actually it would have been smarter to have the turbine. I'm going to rerun my tubes, I think. or not rerun all my tubes. I'm gonna rerun the blue tube here, but actually I need to pump water into this heat exchanger real fast. So let's get a sink. That's where I'm gonna get my initial water here. And I might have some ultimate mechanical pipe. I do. So I need to pump water in, I think, right here. So let's put my sink down right here, right now, and then add the mechanical pipe. And then to actually get the water into the reactor, I need to take this, and I just need to set this to be output. Okay, cool. So it did exchange all that sodium back into the liquid sodium form. So that's what I wanted to see there. So as we can see, the temperatures are coming down here. The evaporator channel fluid it's actually going down as well. And that's because I'm not pumping any more of the liquid superheated sodium. So actually, I am going to rerun this blue tube. So let's go ahead and dig into the reactor and do that, because I think I'm going to have the ports over here. So fortunately or unfortunately, all of this doesn't require tools. So I can't use my pickaxe to take it apart super fast, but I can use just this potato here. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and remove that. Let's remove this. And I should have them in my inventory. Let's replace those with glass. And then let's figure out where exactly I want to run my tubes up on the top side. I think I'm going to have them be over here. So let's do here and here. And that's where the ports are going to be. So let's actually add the first port here, and then let's dive into the reactor and just run a super quick loop here. And if you want this to be more efficient, you would add more tubing, but this should be, honestly, I don't know if it'll be enough actually. So let's run. I don't know how much tubing I should run. I'm probably not going to have enough to be as efficient as I could be, to be honest. I might have to change it after the fact, but let's start out with this amount. And then we'll go ahead and top that up. And there we go. So yeah, basically the more blue tubing you have, the more I think steam you'll be able to produce, and the more red tubing you have, the more superheated sodium you will be able to turn back into sodium. Basically, you kind of want to balance between the two different tube lengths, but I'm going to start with this. Hopefully it's a decent combination. Probably not optimal. Definitely not optimal, but I just want to get it running today. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and build the turbine, because it won't really work. You won't be able to see it in motion without the turbine. So let's go ahead and get rid of all this stuff for right now. And let's build a turbine. So I should have all the blocks I need for that. And they all should be in here, hopefully. So I am going to need some more mechanical pipe. I should grab some of that. Let's grab some stone as well, because I do want to cover up some of the mess I've made. And let's start building the turbine. I don't need it to be centered by any means, in terms of from the far wall to this far wall. So I'm going to make it dimensionally about the same as I've made my turbines in the last time I made turbines, which would be 9 by 9 by 12, I think, are the final dimensions, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So let's go ahead and stretch it this way first off. And right here will be the kind of this end of the reactor, or the turbine rather. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's do 9, 10, 11, 12. So that'll be the length of the turbine rather. So I want it to be 9 high as well. It needs to be a cuboid shape. So the width and the height needs to be the same. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I can't quite reach over there. Can I reach over there? I cannot. So I should be able to reach over here now. So that's cool. Let's run over here and let's do this. Oh, cool. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to reach that or not. But the reach enchantment is really, really nice to have in certain aspects. Right now, it's really super nice to have. So yeah, that is quite a reach I got there. So let's get rid of the few blocks that I accidentally placed here. And let's go ahead and add the coolant ports, as well as the glass along this edge here. So let's grab the wand. Let's change it to the unrestricted mode. And let's grab my coolant ports. And I'm going to have one coolant port over here, and then the other one's going to be over here. I also need to have my turbine rotor bearing port right there. And that should work out pretty well. Normally I have my coolant ports on the vertical axis, but I believe you can also have them horizontal like this, and that should be fine. So I'm not too worried about that. Did I actually make this turbine bigger than... You know what? Yeah, this is actually bigger than I needed it to be. In the past, I built 7 by 7 by 12 turbines, and this one is 9 by 9 by 12. So actually, this one is going to... You know what? I'm going to downsize this to be 7 by 7 by 12, because I definitely don't need it to be this big. So once I have that done, I will be right back. So I've resized my turbine so that it is the proper size here, and let's continue building. So I just need to add glass on this end of the turbine, and let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to use my wands to make this quicker. Hopefully I don't mess that up, and I didn't. So that's cool. So let's add the turbine glass on either side here. I am going to have the controller, I think, be over here. And I also need to be cognizant of where I put my power tap. And it looks like, honestly, there's no great place to put it, but let's put it on the backside here. So let's just put it, say, right here. Actually, that's not a great place. The best place might actually be right here. Weirdly enough, it's not going to be the best location visually for it, but it should be a good location for it in terms of usage. So let's do that, and let's use my wand to actually pull this glass across the turbine here. And I actually need to do this as well. So now we need to add the rotor shaft and the turbine rotor blades as well. So let's do that. And there should be 10 of these, and that is correct. And then the turbine rotor blades, I have 56 in my design. And I'm not sure if that is the most efficient design anymore, but it was in the past. So that's what I've been using. And I'm just going to use my wand to place the rest of the turbine blades. And there should be 8 left, and that's all there is for that. Now, next, I want to also grab some lutecrite blocks to be the coils of the turbine. So the turbine actually needs some sort of metal coils to actually generate the power. And lutecrite seems to be the best material for that. It is a material added by the Bigger Reactor mod, so it should be very well suited for it. So what we do is we just surround this turbine rotor shaft with the lutecrite blocks, like so. And I have 24 in the design I typically use. That seems to be a very good number. I'm not sure if it is the most efficient number, but like I said, it's a design I've been using for a long time, and it seems to work very, very well. So that's what I'm going to go with. So let's just use my wand to add the rest of the glass here. And that should be a completed turbine. So there we go. So now what I have to do is just hook up the red and the blue here. And what I'm going to do is change this one to blue. This one should be the input of the steam. This will be the output of the water. So let's go ahead and run that tubing real fast with this ultimate mechanical pipe. And I actually need to hit shift there to actually do that. So here we go. We should have the tubing. And now I need to actually tell this how much steam it's going to use. So the amount that I found by kind of fine-tuning my turbines at my main base, 15,370 I think is the number that we want to go for. So by using these arrows right here, we can tune that from being the 19 buckets or the 19,000 millibuckets, and we're going to go down. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift all the way to 15.4, and then I'm going to have to hold the, or let go of the control button, I think. So that's 15.4. And that is 15,370. That is exactly what I want to see. So let's go ahead and turn this on. There is no steam to be had just yet. But we can go ahead and fix that pretty quickly here. So let's go down here. Nothing's flowing. There is water in here. And I actually want to add some more water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my sink, wherever I put that bad boy. Where did I put my sink? Did I put it back here? He is right here. Here's my sink. I need that. So let's grab that. Whoops, I fell. And we actually need to get a little bit more water into the system here. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to run over here and actually have my sink be right here. And because the turbine can actually dispose of wastewater, it's not going to waste any water, or it's not going to clog up the system if I do this. So we should see that this should be empty of water because it can't actually accept water. It just outputs water. And this should be full of water now. So what I should be able to do is turn this on. And we should see that this is getting some liquid superheated sodium. And it's actually able, it doesn't seem to be able to process enough of the sodium. And that's probably because I don't have enough of the red tubing inside of this structure here. And this temperature is probably rising because, yeah, it doesn't have enough coolant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off. And as we can see, it seems that this is only able to actually process 10.8 buckets, give or take, of the superheated sodium at a time. So I do need to open up this structure once it actually gets through the sodium. And I actually do need to wait for it to get rid of the sodium because I don't want to accidentally waste a bunch of sodium here. So that's why I am waiting on this. But eventually it should work its way through. So let's see here. Okay, so it's not doing anything. Maybe I have something hooked up poorly or wrong. I do, because this is not getting any steam whatsoever. So I do have something hooked up wrong. So there should be water ingoing, and that water should turn to steam. Do I need to have this? I don't think I do, actually. I don't think I need to have that to be output. I think it just auto outputs. I'm not sure what I've done wrong here. Oh, I know what I haven't done anything wrong. Oh, the thing is it hasn't made steam yet. So the evaporator channel temperature actually needs to get up high enough before it can make steam. It is still running through this superheated sodium and finally got through all of it. But this never got hot enough to actually make steam, so that's why it didn't make steam. So what I do need to do is I need to add more of the red channeling in here because it was not able to run through enough of the sodium. So let me grab more of the condenser channel here. And let's just add a bunch more of that inside of the heat exchanger here. So let me double check that I have all my sodium back. I should have some liquid sodium in here. There should be no more superheated sodium, so that's cool. Let's break this thing open and basically run this in a different fashion. So basically, we do still need to have it go from inputting here to exiting here. I just need to have more of this tubing in here. So let's do that real fast. So before, it was going through 10.8, give or take, of the sodium. So let's add a bunch more of this tubing. So let's do something like this. I'm not exactly sure how much this I do need to add. I do have plenty of area in here to add a bunch of this, though. And I don't even think I'm going to have to be super strategic with how I run this, but I do need to be a little bit careful here. So let's try, let's do more than this. I don't feel like that's enough yet. Okay, so I do need a place to escape here, so let's try this. So basically it's going to kind of circuit through here, and let's see if that is good enough. I do need to add this heat exchanger glass back, and this should be good to go. So let's turn this bad boy back on. And as we can see, we're making a lot of the superheated sodium, and I don't think this will be able to keep up. It does seem to be right now. That would be cool if I did have enough tubing, but I'm not 100% sure if I do or not. So it does seem to be enough right now. Oh, we're running out. Okay, so it has kind of... I'm not really sure why the flow went down. But I'm just going to keep this on for right now because I do want to see it get to be hot enough to actually start making steam. Just to make sure that that is going to work as I intend. And I'm not sure how much of this sodium I'm going to have to make enough steam for my turbine up there. But I believe it is a lot more than this 23.2 buckets. But like I said, I do want to start making steam before I start adjusting anything. And that should be fairly soon. I'm not exactly sure what temperature. I should know this, but it's not quite yet. Kind of think maybe 300. Okay, it's starting to make some steam here. Not a lot yet, but it is starting to make some. And if we go upstairs, I should start to see this turning. And yep, we can see it turning. Not turning very fast, not making very much power, but it is turning. So that is cool. And yeah, it's yeah, not getting very much yet, but it is something. So 97. Interesting. So maybe I should have the tubes up against each other because right now they aren't touching each other. And actually in testing it seemed to be okay, but let's go ahead and turn this off. And let's get these tubes to actually be touching. The red tube and the blue tube touching a little bit. I'm not sure if they need to touch a lot or what. But actually I should wait for all of this sodium to actually be converted into the liquid sodium. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to wait for that to happen off camera, and once that is done I will be right back. Okay, so it seems that all of the sodium has been returned to the liquid form and to the reactor and to this tube right here. So I'm going to go ahead and break this thing open one more time, and hopefully we can get this thing sorted out. So it does look like I do need to have these tubes actually touch each other, and I'm not sure if I need to have them touch a lot or just a little bit, but let's go ahead and try to solve this. So actually I need to have the evaporator channel, and I don't think I have any on me for whatever reason. So let's run over here and let's grab more of that. So that's right here. And let's basically alter our path here. So I am going to have kind of the same entry and exit points here, just to simplify things, but the rest of it I'm going to get rid of, and basically need to have it run up against some of this condenser channel, I think. Okay, so to start with, let's run this down in between these guys right here, and then let's run it up, and then back over. What else can we do? Can we do anything a little bit more complicated here? Let's do that. Let's have it run up. Let's have it go over, and then let's connect up like so. So that should be much better. It definitely runs along this heat exchanger condenser channel a little bit more. And let's see if that affects the results any. So this thing is good to go. Let's turn this guy back on, and let's see what we get here. So it does seem to be... I'm accumulating less of the superheated sodium in here, I think. So that seems to be a good sign. The temperatures are much more even than they were before. So let's see if we start getting some of the steam pretty soon. We should. So yeah, we're already making a lot more of the steam here. As we can see down here, 6.9 buckets, 7. I'm not sure. I'm probably going to have to turn this reactor up, to be honest. It's not actually very hot at all. And I do have the throttle way back on this. The turbine itself is capable of handling essentially 4 buckets worth of steam. And right now we're at about half that. So let's go ahead and crank this reactor up. So let's go over here and let's tell it to do, I am holding the Alt key here. Let's do Alt Shift so that we're basically pulling that control rod out double what we had before. And let's see what we get here. So we're looking for 15.4 essentially here. We're getting real close. It does seem that that's about double the output there. One of the problems that I am having here is that I could actually do with more sodium, it looks like. Okay, so it looks like maybe I've maxed out my heat exchanger here at 14 buckets. So I might actually need to add yet more tubing inside. I'm not sure whether I'm maxing out the hot rate or the cool rate, but regardless, I am stockpiling the superheated steam in here. So what I am going to do is, and I am adding a little bit of heat here. Let's go ahead and shut this down. And let's add a little bit more tubing and see if we can't get there from just by adding a little bit more tubing. So let's grab the evaporator channel. I think I have more of the, and actually I can double check this. Yeah, I definitely have more of the condenser channel inside of the heat exchanger here. And I know that because I actually grabbed 2 stacks of both of these. And I actually have more of the evaporator channel left over. So let's add some more evaporator channel once this is emptied out of the sodium here, or the superheated sodium. So let's break this thing open again. And let's add more of this stuff. So, okay, so let's keep what I have for the most part and just add some more tubing here. I don't think I need to add a whole lot more because I need to go from 14, which is what I was stuck at, to 15.4. So hopefully this will be enough to actually get this thing working. Okay, so let's try that out. And so we're actually getting close to having an even amount of the 2 different types of tubing in there. Let's turn this back on. Same throttle amount. I might need to throttle this up just a little bit more to get enough of the steam here. But let's watch how this goes right now. So we're already making steam, so that's cool. Let's see if this gets above 14 or if it plateaus at 14. If it plateaus at 14, then I need to maybe add more of the hot tubing, but it did get over that. So that's cool. We just need to get to 15.4 rather. So it does look like I need to maybe throttle up the reactor just a little bit more here, because we have kind of stopped here. And by a little bit more, I do mean just a little bit more. So let's hold the Alt key, sorry about that. And let's change this to be maybe 78. That'll probably be more than enough. So let's see how much steam we're making. So we are above that, 15.4. And we should have this guy running at max speed here. So that's fantastic. This does seem to be using all of the steam here. So as we can see, it's actually starting to stockpile steam, so that's cool. And that means we are making more than enough steam. Fantastic. So this setup should be more efficient than using just a reactor hooked up to a turbine. It is a little bit more complicated, and you do need the sodium. So actually I should show how I've made the sodium. So let's look at that real fast. It should be pretty easy to look at. So I'm using the mechanism sodium, and to get sodium you actually have brine, and you use an electrolytic separator to separate the sodium from the chlorine. And to get brine you need a thermal evaporation chamber. You actually need 2 thermal evaporation chambers. So you take water, you put it into, no, you only need 1. Sorry. So you take water, you put it in a thermal evaporation chamber, and you get brine out of it. and then you take that brine and you separate it into sodium and chlorine, and that's how you get the sodium. So this setup seems to be working just fine. I am going to shut it off because right now it's not powering anything, but as we can see, we're making more than enough of the steam with the system here. So that is really, really cool. And this single turbine is going to provide lots and lots of power for this base here. So that is pretty exciting. Everything seems to be working very well. Yep. So in today's episode, I built a reactor, a heat exchanger, and a turbine from the mod Bigger Reactors. Basically, it's just a more efficient setup than using a reactor and a turbine. By using the heat exchanger, you get a little bit more efficiency, and that is always cool. In addition, I wanted to do this today because I've noticed that there is a lack of documentation online that I could find of the heat exchanger from this mod, so I wanted to show you a little bit about how it works. Now, certainly this is not the most efficient design, so I would definitely encourage you to try this out by yourself and see what works best. But that's essentially how you make this work. So if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to leave a like down below. If there's anything I could have done better or differently, let me know down in the comments below as I try to read all the comments. If you enjoy large-scale automation in modern Minecraft, definitely consider subscribing to my channel, as that is typically what I do. Anyways, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.